Welcome back on Spreaker Radio, race fans. My name is Corey Pinville with Moxie Media Promotions, sitting here with Josh Warvis, your announcer at Sunset Speedway. Josh, has been a pretty cool deal here this afternoon here at the 2016 Northwest Race Car Show, presented by Jetstream Aqua Massage and Moxie Media Promotions. We are at the Moxie table waiting for Mr. Doug Davenport, driver of the number 8 Dragger Performance GRT late model down at the other end of the mall. He'll be here just shortly to talk with us. But, man, a good deal, a great turnout with fans and new people asking all kinds of questions about these race cars and what's going on and where to go. And well, there he is. Doug's showing up right now. But let's kind of talk about the feel of the day and what's been happening.
Absolutely, man. It has been one of the coolest days around here. We started at 9 o'clock last night loading up cars, and we've had fulfillment day all day long. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people stop by the booth here. Jetstream Aqua Massage has just been going off the hook. I don't think 3 beds have gone so many hours because people are coming in here. It's really cool. We got a lot of fans that didn't even know about some of these tracks. They didn't know about some of these cars. They're huge NASCAR fans or whatever, and didn't know about the dirt late models and the modifieds. Looking at a sprint car and stuff actually sitting right in front of our booth here. And then, of course, you got Mr. Davenport's beautiful GRT late model that's sitting down at the end of the mall. Welcome. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Well, good. How are you guys doing?
Well, first and foremost, I mentioned you were late for your interview. I need to apologize. I need to apologize personally to Doug. This is scheduled for 5 o'clock. I'm an hour and a half late. That's my fault. Doug, I apologize about that, man. Thanks for joining us. And,
no worries. I'm fashionably late most of the time, too, so it's all good.
Well, I'll tell you what, you unloaded that number 8 last night. And, the last time we saw that car was at the car show, and it just had the new body on, no graphics or anything, and a lot of people talking about that 8D. That is one good-looking ride down there.
When I first brought the yellow sheet metal home, everybody that I talked to, everybody that's seen it, was kind of like, really? Yellow? And I was like, I've got a plan. Just don't jump to any conclusions. And even my wife, when I brought it home and unloaded it, she's like, yellow, really? And it's kind of the same thing. I said, just wait. I got an idea, and it'll look all right.
Well, I gotta say, when I saw the car, Doug Davenport unloaded that car at the swap meet, I talked to him, did a little interview with him there, and I said, yellow, really? And he goes, just wait, I got a plan. But, I expected to see a lot of white and blue on that race car. Not the case. That thing there got some camo hooked into the scheme, and a very, very tight, that's a nice race car right there.
The camo actually was a surprise to me. I didn't know that was going to be on there either. The gal that does my lettering, when we got the layout done and all the graphics and all the sponsor stuff done, I said, if you want to add your own personal touch to it or whatever you want to do, just feel free. If you want to put some shadows or something in there to dress it up a little bit, if you think it's missing something, go ahead. Just as long as we leave the layout and the colors the way they are, everything will be fine. And I went and picked it up, and I asked her, I said, so what'd you do? And she says, no, it's real subtle. You'll see when you open it. And I couldn't even get it out of her. Well, then, with my work schedule and whatnot, I didn't actually even get a mess with it for another week after that. And I just kind of peeked in the box to make sure everything was there. And I didn't even catch it until I actually laid it out to put it on the car. And then I noticed it was there, and I was like, whoa, come over here and look at this.
Well, that's what's cool. I mean, it's different. You don't see a lot of that, and it works. I mean, just the way it flows into the scheme. And that is one car that no matter what racetrack you're going to be at, it's definitely going to grab some eyes of the fans. And, Doug Davenport, always known for showing up at the racetrack with a beautiful race car, kind of your trademark. I mean, your stuff always looks like it's show quality, always got a real good scheme that works together, and the fans tend to gravitate toward that car in the pit area, no matter what color's on it or what track you're at.
Well, through my whole racing career, I've been kind of the junkyard dog, the guy that lays in the back, and you never know what to expect. And a lot of times I did race with used stuff or hand-me-down stuff, and the only way that I could pass it off was to shine it up and make it pretty and make everybody know that it wasn't junk, or at least try to make them believe that it wasn't junk. And fortunately, my career's changed a lot over the last 20 years, and now I can buy new stuff, but I still think, they have to look nice. They have to grab people's attention. That's how you keep fans at the racetrack, is give them something that they like to look at. And pretty race cars, it's like a pretty girl. They grab people's attention.
Yeah, definitely they get sponsors. We walk down there. We've been, walking up and, me and Corey have been walking up and down, halls, all day long. I mean, we got here at 8 o'clock this morning and before the doors open and started looking at it, and I actually had the time to sit down and look at each and every car, and the wrap and the design and everything, because everybody's going to this wrap stuff now, because it's a little bit easier. It looks really, really nice. You can come up with some cool designs. Your wrap by far, we can see it, at 100 feet away, how cool it is. What all did you have input when it actually came down to it, like with the camo and everything? Did you just kind of give your graphic designer, say, hey, look, this is where we want to go, and then, like you said, you could add to your shadows?
I didn't, like I said, the camo I didn't know anything about. That was all her. I had nothing to do with that, and she hit it out of the park on that. It just, the way she did it, it fits and it works. But I'm really fortunate. They live about 20 minutes from me, so I have an option that most of the other racers don't have. I can actually go over to the shop and sit down at the computer with them, and I don't get to do all of it myself, but for the most part, this is the colors I want, and no, I don't like that logo there, let's put it on a slant, or let's move it, or I don't like the way that number looks, let's stretch it a little bit. And most of the other guys, they don't have that option. They just, this is what she draws up for them, and do you like it or not? And if they don't like it, she changes them and changes it, throws something different at them, and they're still basically at her mercy. And I kind of get to take that one step further. I actually get to sit down and tweak and play with it myself, and let's move this, and well, let's change that color to this color and see what it does. And so ultimately, when it's all said and done, I get what I want on my race car, not what somebody else thinks looks good.
Well, and you've got that knack for making a car look good. You always have, whether it was a helmet you painted or, he's always had the cool stuff. But, talking about the late model, back in the late model for the first time in a while. I've been running the mods a little bit, did some asphalt racing for a while. So what was the deciding factor to get back in the big cars?
Well, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, I'd sold all my modified stuff, and I bought the asphalt late model and wanted to go do that. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I worked on asphalt cars for a long time for different people, and I wanted to try it, and I had an opportunity to get in one, and I was just really unhappy with the way racing in general has been going in the Northwest. It hasn't been real racer friendly for quite some time, and I was just disgusted. And I was kind of in a funk, and my equipment wasn't working the way I wanted it to, and the racetracks weren't doing what I thought they should be doing, and so it was just time for a change. And I went and did the asphalt thing, and we ran a couple races with that, and we surprisingly we did really well with it for the lack of knowledge that we had. And but then again, it was something different, and I really enjoyed it, but my crew guys didn't like it, and without them I can't race, especially my crew chief. He's been with me for 15 years now, and he's my right and my left hand. I mean, if he came to me right now and said, hey dude, I just don't want to do this anymore, I'd sell everything. I wouldn't, I can't do it without him. I put so much trust in that guy and rely on him for so much at the racetrack and at the shop. I wouldn't even think of doing it without him. And the instant that I realized he wasn't happy and wasn't having any fun, that's when I pulled the plug on the asphalt car. I mean, we've been together for 15 years now, and we've won a lot of races at a lot of different places. We've raced several states and been really successful everywhere we went. And I could tell that he just wasn't happy doing it. He didn't like it. And so instead of ruining it completely, we'll just pull the plug on it. And I do a lot of aircraft stuff. I play around with airplanes quite a bit, and then when I got rid of the asphalt car, I was thinking, he's got a new direction he's going in his life with work and different things. We're just going to take some time off completely, and I'm going to go do some aerobatic stuff and do some playing around with airplanes, and I fly model airplanes and do a lot of stuff with that. And it's just, man, we need to walk away for a while. So we did, and it was actually my wife's idea to do this. We went on vacation, and I took her to Hawaii for her birthday, and we were just sitting downtown one night, and my crew chief actually called and brought up the idea, there's a racetrack there in Hawaii, you guys should go check it out. And I told him right out loud, we're not going to a racetrack in Hawaii. That would be a bad idea. So, needless to say, we didn't go to a racetrack, but we sat there and we were in one of the, outdoor restaurants downtown, and just kind of people watching and enjoying the weather and what you do in Hawaii. And she just kind of piped up right out of the middle of nowhere and said, you know, why don't you just go buy another dirt car? I can tell that you guys miss it. That's what you want to do. You still talk to the racers every night on the phone. You're still giving setup advice. You're still got people calling, wanting you to build race cars for them. Why don't you just go buy one? That's what you guys want to do. That's what makes you happy. And, well, when your wife tells you to buy a race car, you just go buy one.
Yeah, you don't argue with that because that doesn't happen very often. No doubt. So you got the car in 2016. Are we going to see you kind of traveling up and down the West Coast, the Northwest? You're going to run for points at a single track, or what's the plan for Doug Davenport Motorsports?
Well, I'm going to do all the open late model shows here in the Northwest for sure, and try to maybe chase points with that. I'm really busy with my company with work right now. I originally wanted to start my season in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, and I had a guy kind of drop the ball on me with work stuff, so I had to stay and pick up the slack for that, and I ended up not being able to go. And that's why I'm here at the car show, is because I haven't raced my car yet, and it is still new and pretty and shiny, and so I decided to bring it down. But we'll start the season off here at Willamette, and we'll do all the shows here, and there's a couple money shows up and down the West Coast that, work permitting, I'm going to try to hit those, and then we'll just see where it goes. But
no, that's good. I mean, you talk about, traveling and everything else, and, we've talked to, several people, we had interviews and stuff today, just happened to be, this is, kind of wrapping up, the night with us, and of course we save the best for last, right? That's what they say.
Well, yeah, sure.
So with that said, how Corey asked, talking about your travels and stuff, you have some of these guys, Colin Weinberger, we're kind of going back to these young guns, you're still kind of a young gun yourself. You're kind of in that, middle stage and stuff too about, you haven't, you're not a total veteran and stuff yet, but you've been in it for so many years doing, everything. But you have some of these young guys coming up, Colin Weinberger, Bryson James, Joey Tanner, his car's here. He's going to try to run a full season. When you go to the track and you see these guys that are traveling down to California and Vegas, running with, what they consider the top guys of the Northwest or even the region, when you go to the track and you see these, do you sit there and say, hey, look, these are the guys who have to beat, or these guys who have to beat me?
Well, you really want me to answer that?
Absolutely. It is free.
There's a whole bucket of talent in the Northwest right now. These young kids, they're phenomenal race car drivers. Colin, Justin Duty is another knockout.
That's another guy.
Fast. I pulled that kid around in a wagon 15 years ago at the racetrack, and to see what he's become now that I'm racing side by side with him, and a lot of nights I'm trying to catch him. It's pretty tough. It's hard racing. I got out of a late model 12 years ago, mostly because of costs. They're expensive to race, and fortunately now I've put myself in a position where I can race them. And these kids grew up around them, and they're a lot more up on the technology, and there's so many things that you can do with these cars now that you couldn't do 12 years ago. And they're excellent race car drivers, but on top of that, they know more about the cars now, that's where I'm struggling. We had good equipment last year. We had equipment that we should have won every race with, but we didn't know how to use it. And that was the biggest struggle that we had, was trying to learn how to use it and fill in the gaps, what we had missed out on over 12 years. The modifieds are real similar to these cars, but at the same time, they're really different. And trying to adapt what we had with the mods to the late models, it took us a year to figure it out. And we kept telling ourselves all year last year, we've got all the pieces, we just need to get them put together. Well, after the season was over and we debriefed and looked at everything and looked at all our parts, and I had to reach out for a couple of lifelines and ask for some help from people way further up the chain. We didn't have all the pieces that we needed, and I hope now for 2016 we do. I spent most of the winter doing more homework and more schooling and buying more parts and more equipment, and I crossed my fingers that I did everything right. Here in about 3 weeks we're going to find out.
Well, you just said something real interesting that kind of struck me. We talked about the young guns. We've talked about them for the last year. These young kids coming up that are winning races and starting to really get some national recognition. But something you just said was talking about how they understand these race cars. They've grown up around it, and it's kind of become second nature. Well, the reason those guys understand those race cars is because of you guys that they've grown up around, that have taught them that over the years. So now they're getting in their cars and they've got the talent to drive with good equipment, and taking that knowledge that you guys have passed down and they're using that against you. I mean, that makes it a tough deal to run with these young bucks like Duty and those guys.
And it does. And there's several times, there's not a one of them that hasn't had a on-track confrontation with one of us older guys. And every once in a while, we have to go down there to their pit and grab them by the ear and say, hey, you're not as fast as you think you are. You need to settle down. There's some respect that you still haven't earned yet, and you can earn it the hard way or you can earn it the easy way, and that's up to you.
Well, I think that's the hardest lesson, what you're talking about there. The hardest lesson for any young race car driver coming up through the ranks is, you want to go fast, but you got to slow down in your mind.